Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Noontime Knowledge Series for Penn State fundraising volunteers, presidential counselors, and donors. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Caitlin Hedberg, and I'm the Director of Engagement Strategy for the Office of Development Communications here at Penn State. It is such a pleasure to be here today. In my role, one of the things I do is to help welcome Penn Staters into the world of philanthropy here at Penn State. And I've been involved in Penn State's Giving Tuesday since we first started this effort 10 years ago. There is so much to appreciate about Giving Tuesday. And for me, I've always loved that it's truly an event for donors at any level and with any affinity. There are so many ways for alumni and friends to come together and get involved. And it's really a proud feeling to witness this event succeeding year after year because of the collective generosity of this community. Today, I'll be hosting our conversation with representatives from two of last year's most successful fundraising campaigns, who excitingly are returning to fundraise again this year. And each of them will speak to how support on Giving Tuesday helps to support their efforts year-round. After our guests share their remarks, we'll have a Q&A session. As always, you can enter questions in the chat box at any time during the presentation this afternoon. And you may also use the raise hand feature or just unmute yourself later during the Q&A portion once presentations are finished. So now let's say hello to our speakers for today. Representing Penn State Sustainability, we have Lara Fowler. Dr. Fowler is Penn State's Chief Sustainability Officer. She joined Penn State in 2012 after serving as a mediator, facilitator, and attorney for complex natural resources issues. She received her bachelor's degree from Dartmouth College and her Juris Doctorate from the University of Washington School of Law. We also have Gretchen Little here this afternoon. Gretchen is the Assistant Director of Alumni and Donor Relations for the University Libraries. She began her work with the libraries as an intern in 2021 and has been in her full-time role since 2022 after finishing her degree in public relations here at Penn State. Thank you both so much for being a part of today's conversation. Before we get started, I'll provide a bit of brief background, on Giving Tuesday at Penn State. Broadly, Giving Tuesday is an international day of generosity. And at the university, we honor this event by inviting any group affiliated with Penn State to create a campaign to raise funds for their cause. This year, Giving Tuesday is on Tuesday, December 3rd. The scope of Penn State's efforts has certainly grown since we began our tradition a decade ago. Last year, we featured 180 individual campaigns from every corner of university life. More than 13,500 gifts were made, totaling more than $1.4 million, raised for activities, research, athletics, and so much more. We reached both participation and fundraising records last year, both of which serve as testimonies to the strength and generosity of the Penn State community. And a big thank you, as I'm sure there are people joining us today who helped to make those numbers a reality last year. So reaching successful heights takes a ton of preparation and a ton of creativity. And our guests today are going to tell us a bit more about what that looks like. Without further ado, Dr. Fowler, over to you.
Thanks, Caitlin, and thanks for everybody being here as I'm pulling up slides here. Just wanted to give a big shout out to actually a number of partners who are even also on the call today. Mark McLaughlin, for example, runs Shavers Creek, and there's others who are involved with this. So count me as the spokesperson. As Caitlin said, my name is Lara Fowler. I'm Penn State's Chief Sustainability Officer, and in this role, I'm across the whole of the university, all of our campuses, all of our education, operations, our land-grant mission. And our campaign last year on Run Through Penn State Sustainability was really, as I said, a partnership. And it was to say, we have an issue with birds and insect biodiversity that a lot of people are bringing forward. How do we really recognize that? And how do we call that forward? So I'm going to give you a context of why we thought it was an issue and then what we did with the campaign itself. So really briefly, we're more and more studies are coming out that basically say we are seeing an absolute devastating decline in biodiversity, including in our birds. That more than 1 billion, with a B, birds die every year at windows across North America as they hit a building and die. What does this look like? It's a lot of window collisions. We have other reasons too, and sorry, this is a little bit blurry, but cats, power lines, pesticides, hunting, vehicular collisions, other reasons as well. But really, buildings and birds are not a good combination. And recent study from the American Bird Conservancy is documenting this, and again, really a pretty severe question. Here in Pennsylvania, I love this map. You can see it's migrations in motion. This is put out by the Nature Conservancy that really shows the migratory corridors that run through the middle of Pennsylvania. Birds in blue, mammals in pink, yellow for amphibians. But you can again really see, I'm going to run it. Let's see if I can make it run again and not switch slides here. Nope. But you can see that really predominant of critters coming through central Pennsylvania in particular, but really the whole corridor across all of Pennsylvania. And it raises the question then here at Penn State, buildings and then lights on at night result in a lot of bird strikes and disorientation. We've found more than 70 species across particularly the University Park campus, and I should warn you, pictures of dead birds in this too. This is outside the stadium. What we have had is students basically saying, hey, we've got an issue. How do we start to document this? A report just came out in October, basically saying, what are our primary bird window collision sites here at Penn State? And you can look at the list. The top of this, the Huck Life Sciences building in the bridge area is the highest at 165 of what they were able to document. The building right next door, the Chemical and Biomedical Engineering building, was next at 62, followed by Pagula, Beaver Stadium, and on down. What do these buildings look like? A lot of glass. Trees nearby, trees inside. And so birds see things differently or don't see things in the same way that the human eye sees. I'm gaining a lot of understanding of kind of the ocular properties of birds through this discussion. And so they may not see that there is glass there. It may just look like sky. So the Life Sciences Bridge pictured here in this is one of the worst places on the University Park campus. The Chemical and Biomedical Engineering building, again, you can see a lot of glass. You can see the trees reflected in the glass. It looks like sky. Bird flies into it, hits it, dies. So the opportunity, again, the awareness of this issue has really led to increased monitoring, action, and indeed funding. So students working on this have basically said, and Siobhan Jessic is one of the students who basically said, hey, we're going to create an Instagram account of bird strikes at Penn State. You can go on Instagram, you can find it, but starting to document the issue and really highlight and call this out. There's a whole page, I've got a link to it, where you can put in submission forms. Just sent it to a colleague who was like, I just found a dead bird. How do I report this? But we're really starting to see the rise of student monitoring and the students taking the lead on this, and then starting to work with faculty to say, hey, this is a really big issue. It's not that we didn't have an issue before 2021, is that we didn't know how big the issue was. And so again, student forcefulness in documenting this, creating ways to document this, and then bringing in allies and partners. So last year, again, I've had this job as Chief Sustainability Officer for 2 years, and day 3 on the job got a request for funding for the Susan Welch Liberal Arts Building, about $250,000, and they needed an answer in 3 days. Started my own awareness of these issues. I had to say at that point, we don't have $250,000 in 3 days that we can put towards this building. There's more to that story, and I'll come back to it in a moment. But it raised the real question of, hey, can we start to retrofit some of the worst first? So last year with the GivingTuesday campaign, we basically were like, we think that there is funding and we think there's an avid community in this space that doesn't need to name a classroom, but that may be interested in actually helping retrofit some of our problematic buildings. Let's focus on biodiversity solutions and the student engagement side of it. It was a huge amount of effort by our allies, including the local birding and insect community. Picture to the right, firefly. We all love fireflies in the summertime. And lights don't help them, right? They communicate through lights. Extra light pollution is a real problem. So even the insect club helped put word out about this. The email campaign, word of mouth, direct solicitations. I'll show you a picture of Joe Geikus in a moment. I don't know how many people he personally solicited, but a lot. We ended up with 407 individual donors, $16,000 in just a few days. We've been in touch, and what we're hoping to do, I guess, this year is to really leverage funding from last year from multiple different projects. Again, we focused on the worst first. We're messaging now what the funding has been used for, and then we're trying to deal with manageable pieces of the challenge. So I'm proud to say, actually, I posted something to LinkedIn about this, but if you happen to go by the Life Sciences Bridge last week, this is what you would have seen, which is scaffolding as they were actually putting bird dots up on the building. I was by there on Sunday of this week. And again, this is a complicated picture, but let me unpack what you see. This is the corner of the building here, reflected the building behind it, looking sideways to the rest of the Huck Life Sciences building. But you can see the bird dots now on the glass, which again, the birds are then able to see. It's about $25,000 per section of the building. And so we're basically chunking it and saying, okay, we know this is the worst first. How do we address it? How do we raise money for this? So these are now installed, again, literally a week ago. Took us a while. We were trying to figure out if there are other ways. When they're cleaning the windows and the window washers are out there, could we leverage the money further? The answer is no. So we tried a bunch of different things and finally settled on this solution. Again, working with an outside contractor to actually install this. So attention to these issues has really led to other actions. I talked about the Susan Welch building, working back and forth with the architects on this. Again, their initial ask was about $250,000. We're like, we don't have that funding. They came back 6 months later and said, we've redesigned the building. Do you think we can leverage about $65,000 to match these needs? And so at that point, I better understood the budget, the need, and the purpose. We put that money towards it. And so built into that new building is actually bird-friendly structures and glass. That building is about to open in January of this year, and you can start to see that on the way out. Other demonstration sites, I mentioned Joe Geikus. It's Richard Novak actually on the right and Joe Geikus on the left. Richard Novak is U.S. Fish and Wildlife here in town, but he's also a Penn State alum. And then Dr. Joe Geikus is a faculty member in um, our bio and behavioral health program, but really, really passionate about birds. They're doing a demonstration at the Arboretum on bird-friendly glass in the little kiosk there. And again, the combination of a number of different people, of real champions and helping put word out, I think really made a big difference for this campaign. So other ways, just very quickly, you can make a difference in this. Any or all of us have lights on at night. Fine, close your blinds. You can put your own bird dots on. Keep your cats inside. I have 2 cats. They're very frustrated with me on our bird-friendly policy. They would like very much to go outside. Please, thank you. Reduce your lawn and plant native species. Avoid pesticides, avoid herbicides, which really impact our feathered friends and the food that they eat. Drinking bird-friendly coffee, thinking about that supply chain a little bit more broadly makes a difference. Avoiding single-use plastics, which are really impacting biodiversity in a whole bunch of different ways, and then help track it. Schaefer's Creek and folks out there do a fantastic job with their birding cup, raising awareness, tracking bird species. Get involved. There's a ton of opportunities in this area. This is an amazing bird community. So we're going to hold questions. I'm happy to answer questions about birds, bird glass, anything, or the campaign. We're going to hold them till the end. But if you want to report that you've seen, sadly, a dead bird, there's a way to do it. If you have ideas about other things in the sustainability space, please share. In the meantime, a big thanks for the opportunity to do this. And I look forward to hearing from our next speaker. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thanks again for joining us today. My name's Gretchen, and I'm really excited to share with you all the 2 incredible initiatives that we're running here at the Penn State University Libraries that are enhancing the student experience. And those are Student Wellbeing and Penn State University Press Unlocked. These programs are making a tangible difference here at the university libraries, and I'm excited to talk about how they benefit the Penn State community and university at large. I'll start with Penn State University Press Unlocked. For a bit of context, Penn State University Press, since its founding in 1956, has been dedicated to publishing rigorously reviewed research and works of regional and contemporary interest. They're primarily focused on humanities and social sciences. As the publishing arm of Penn State, the press is committed to advancing scholarship by sharing knowledge through books, journals, and digital media. So Penn State University Press isn't a commercial publisher, but we still have to generate revenue to cover operating costs. publishing, developing, producing, marketing books and journals all comes with a price tag. But the core mission of Penn State University Press is to disseminate knowledge, which is why the open access initiative is a key to Penn State University Press. Through Penn State University Press Unlocked, which was launched in 2016, we're making Penn State scholarly publications freely available to the public. This ensures that valuable research can reach a wider audience without being hindered by costly paywalls. This has really big implications, and not just for students, but for researchers and academics worldwide. Since last Giving Tuesday, titles that have been or will be opened are from our African and African American list. This includes our front list title, Struggle for the Black City, which you see here on this slide. It examines Black newspapers, archival documents from Black organizations, and oral histories of community advocates to show how African American residents in 3 different communities, the Hill District of Pittsburgh, the Bronzeville neighborhood of Milwaukee, and the Rondo District of St. Paul, enacted a new form of citizenship to fight for their neighborhoods. It also includes a number of our backlist titles, including Debt and Redemption in the Blues, which explores concepts of freedom and bondage in the blues. It argues that this genre of music explicitly calls for a reckoning while expressing faith in a secular justice to come. We also expect to be opening up articles from a few more journals, and you can see those here on the slide. But why does open access matter? As you might know, the cost of access to scholarly research has been increasing, and that makes it really difficult for students and researchers to access the materials they need. Open access addresses this challenge by providing free and immediate access to researchers, removing all of the financial barriers. And for students, this means that important academic resources, whether it's a book, a journal article, or a data set, are readily available and free for them to use. And like I said, it's not just about students. Open access also benefits researchers by giving their work wider visibility. It increases the likelihood of citations, which can help boost their academic careers and expand their professional networks. It also fosters collaboration, as scholars from around the world can easily access, share, and build upon each other's work. So next, I'll talk about our Student Wellbeing Initiative. Supporting student wellness is critical for academic success, but it's also essential for fostering a sense of belonging here at Penn State, which is really important to us here at the University Libraries. Student well-being isn't just about physical health, it's about the holistic experience. So we focus on the mental, emotional, social, and even occupational wellness of our students. And a core part of this initiative is our Live Well program, which provides a variety of services to help students maintain a balanced and healthy lifestyle while they're here at Penn State. Through Live Well, students have access to resources and activities designed to promote their physical health, mental resilience, and social connection. And now I'll walk you through a few examples of this. So we host our De-Stress Fest during finals week every fall and spring semester, but it's not just here at Petit and Paterno libraries. Last spring, 5 locations here at University Park and 16 campus libraries participated in end of semester activities, whether it was branded as De-Stress Fest or under another name. At University Park, we saw 5,877 students over this 3-day event, while the campuses collectively reported 9,235 students participating. Notably, over half of that total came from Penn State Berks, where 5,663 students attended, and you can see their welcome area here in this top right photo. The top left photo shows some students from Penn State Fayette. They enjoyed activities like canvas bag painting. In the bottom left, we have students from the Saletti Memorial Library at Penn State Schuylkill. They were handing out coffee, hot chocolate, and snacks to the students. And in the bottom right, you'll see Rosie the Golden Retriever. She visits Petit and Paterno libraries and greets our students, helps relax, give them a bit of a smile on the days that they're feeling stressed. But regardless of their location, this event is all about creating an atmosphere where our students can relax and recharge before diving back into studying. Whether they're enjoying a snack, a coffee, or participating in relaxing activities like button making, puzzles, or arts and crafts, it's a time for them to take a much needed break from the pressure of finals. In addition to De-Stress Fest, we also have a leisure reading collection, which gives students a chance to unwind through books. Whether it's a novel, a biography, or something more lighthearted, this collection provides a great way for our students to relax and escape. The bottom left image shows the Berks Library's Leader reading collection, and that features genres including fantasy, romance, mystery, science fiction, and more. Students are also able to access ebooks and audiobooks through the Libby app for free, so they can access these resources from anywhere. And we'll also host a fun annual event called Blind Date with a Book. So shelves are filled with wrapped books, so students take a date with a book, taking the book home without knowing exactly what it is, and seeing whether they enjoy it or not. And another important aspect of student well-being is our sensory support. So we've developed sensory rooms designed to provide a calming space for our students, especially those who are neurodivergent or experience sensory overload. These rooms are equipped with weighted blankets, noise-canceling headphones, and fidget tools, which help students manage stress and recharge. The top photo here is the sensory room located at University Park. And the bottom left picture is one of our most popular features of our sensory rooms, the egg chair. This high-tech, high-touch chair has immersive speakers that allow students to play calming music or nature sounds through their devices, and it kind of envelops you so you don't hear what's going on around you. And students have said that the egg chair feels like a big hug from Penn State, which has been really great feedback to hear. These rooms all have been really popular, and we're very proud that they were recently recognized by the American Library Association. But we also have sensory kits that students can check out and take home to create their own sensory space wherever they are. There's a picture of one in the bottom left, and these kits are packed with items like fidget spinners, white noise machines, and more, which allows students to create their own sensory space outside of the library to manage their stress and recharge. Ultimately, our goal this Giving Tuesday is to expand the resources available through student well-being and Penn State University Press Unlocked. We're aiming to add more sensory rooms to our campuses and expand the collection of open access resources for our students and researchers. And Giving Tuesday is such a worthwhile effort and different from other fundraising efforts because it's all about crowdfunding. On this day, we're able to come together as a community to support these campaigns in a big way. And we're able to see on this day that even small gifts can make a huge difference. People often feel that they need to contribute large sums to make a big impact, but this day is a reminder that it's the collective effort that creates real change. Last year, our Giving Tuesday campaigns helped us raise over $75,000 for both student well-being and Penn State University Press Unlocked. And one of our biggest keys to success has been the support of our library's development board. They felt so strongly about both the student well-being and Penn State University Press Unlocked funds that they came together to offer an incredible match for over $36,000 in support of these campaigns. And their involvement has still been crucial in positioning these campaigns for success. While donations are a major form of support for our campaigns, there are other ways for you to get involved. One of the most effective ways is by sharing the campaign with your network, which our board members take the time to do every year. Spreading the word about student well-being and Penn State University Press Unlocked through social media, emails, and personal outreach helps us to grow awareness and drive support for these initiatives. If you're passionate about these causes, you can also make your own ask, whether you're encouraging others to donate or simply discussing the importance of these programs with them. We're really proud of the success of PSU Press Unlocked and the Student Wellbeing Initiative, and we're really looking forward to their continued growth and impact, which would definitely not be possible without the support of our donors. Their contributions make it possible for us to continue expanding these initiatives and meet the growing needs of our students. We're incredibly grateful for their generosity, and together, we're excited to continue making a lasting impact on the lives of our students and the broader academic community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura and Gretchen. Those were fantastic presentations. Another thing I love about Giving Tuesday, it's just so inspiring to hear how much incredible, meaningful, joyful work is happening at the university. So thank you for sharing that with us today. So we are going to move into our Q&A session. As a reminder, if you have a question, you can go ahead and put it in our chat box now. You can raise your hand, you can just unmute yourself. And while you are gathering your questions, I'll kick us off with one. So I will, again, age myself. 10 years ago when we started this, I believe we had 4, maybe 5 pilot units who participated. And then here we are, at 180, as I mentioned earlier on. Could you share what about, of all the different fundraising channels and strategies that exists for units at Penn State. What about Giving Tuesday was exciting to you? What made you decide this is the place for my project?
I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but just really the passion of the community surrounding the topic that we were dealing with. And I think some of the questions we've gotten on the sustainability side, one is, well, what is sustainability anyway? Is it, do you want me to do better recycling? And we're like, no, it really is yes, and I guess I would put it. There's a lot more to it than that, right? What's the well-being of the world and the biodiversity around us? What's community and economic resilience? How do we really think about how we engage with that? And so we wanted to use it as a demonstration project to say, we think there's a broader community that's quite passionate and focused on this and really wanted that grassroots bottom up support. And again, the birding community, the insect community in this area is really strong and very passionate. And so when we said, hey, we're thinking of doing this, would you partner with us on this? They were like, yes, sign me up. And, I think Joe individually contacted just a huge number of people where they were like, yep, we've heard from him. And so it was making the rounds and really just trying to help get word out. But it was a really broad network of folks. And we thought that network was there. And we were pleased to see that, for something like putting dots on a building may not be the sexiest of projects, but really makes a difference. And people are like, yeah, that resonates with something we can do. And it's a tangible difference. They're planning to basically continue studying the impact and the shift over time. I'll be curious because we're doing it in stages, what that looks like, but that is an opportunity not only for student work, research, changing building standards, raising awareness, even just posting about it on LinkedIn. I had colleagues in Sweden who were like, oh, we should be paying attention to this. So is this a space that Penn State can really actually start to leave? And again, it's student initiative and community driven. So it was a chance to really test that hypothesis and actually get quite a bit of good information back. Gretchen?
Yeah, so every year here at the University Libraries, we've been participating. I believe it's been for the past 10 years. We take a step back and look at everything we're fundraising for here at the libraries and assess our priorities here as well with our dean. And student well-being and open access have been at the top of that list. Obviously, we fundraised for it last year and are doing it again this year. And it is one of those priorities that speaks to people pretty immediately, saying you can help students feel less stressed, or you can make these materials free and make a student's life easier when they're trying to get their books and things like that. So kind of looking to see what do we want to focus on and what speaks to people, because we're trying to bring in new people to the libraries as always.
Thank you both. And that's right, University Libraries was one of our very first pilot units. That's really exciting of you here. Anyone, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. Are there any attendees who want to raise their hand or just jump in?
I have a question. The new Palmer Art Museum has included bird glass, as you know, and that was provided by a donor. Is a greater effort going to be made on new buildings to request from donors as part of what they're interested, whether it's naming or something else, to focus on bird glass and how important it is?
Yeah, it is coming up, and right now we're under discussion with there's a building under construction right next to Jeffrey Field, the soccer field, and the question there, again, would love to have it embedded in every building. Raising money through Giving Tuesday for every building that might go up is maybe not the fastest way to approach it. And so I do think actually calling out a greater initiative in this space and trying to think, working with the campus architects, they're really thinking about how do they just embed it into this is what we do. So that it's not a special call out, but it is embedded actually into the design standards. That's under discussion right now too. So I think it's a yes and how do we accomplish this for our existing building stock? Again, not just at the University Park campus, but all our campuses. And then as we're building new buildings, how do we actually incorporate this in? But it is absolutely an opportunity and a very live one if that's of interest to folks. So, thank you for the question.
I have a question. I actually have one for each of you, but let me ask Gretchen first. So you had mentioned board support to offer a match and also like priority alignment with the dean. But then how did you activate a community to support your Giving Tuesday campaign after you had that support from leadership?
So to activate a community, we really looked at it and said, how can we make this a story? That's what appeals to people. Student well-being, that's really easy to say, like, we want to help our students. One of our board members calls it kind of the motherly fund, where she feels like she's helping students as their mother get through this time. So making those stories and then working with our PR team to kind of get those stories out, share more broadly. A lot of our champion pages last year were also very helpful in creating that. I'm helping these students do this. Are you gonna join me? And that's really helped us build that wider community. And with open access, that is something that's also really important, but not just the wider public, but academics as a whole. So there is already kind of a community there talking about why open access is important. So it was a bit easier to join those communities and kind of bring them in specifically to PSU Press Unlocked.
Thank you. And then one follow-up question. How long before Giving Tuesday do you work to identify those champions and build those pages? Like, I'm wanting to get a sense of timing.
Yeah, Giving Tuesday is a year-round thing pretty much here at the university libraries. We're always thinking once on December 4th hits, we're going to be talking about what we're doing next year. But I work really close with our gift officers. They're the ones talking to the most people and say, talk to people about these priorities, and then let's see who's interested, and we can go back to them and encourage them to be champions. It's a really easy way to kind of gauge people who are very interested in it. I think that's not the most helpful answer that we do it all year, but kind of always looking for people who feel strongly about these initiatives.
Yeah, and I think you actually have a really interesting spectrum because we're much newer at the Giving Tuesday side of things, and Penn State Sustainability, we don't have gift officers. Right, we're working with university development a little bit as we're trying to think through, again, how do we take a space that can be hard for people to understand, that what's involved with sustainability, right? And I'll give a shout out to the libraries. They have a fantastic sustainability committee. That may be a different campaign we can talk about some other time, Gretchen. But we're really new to this space. And so one of the things that we did last year was reaching out to those partners, again, even just in setting up the campaign, kind of was an iteration of discussions. And then as we've been working through, okay, we got funding, what do we do with it? We've been in conversation with our champions kind of all the way through. And then a couple weeks ago, as we're starting to get the money applied, literally applied to Windows, providing updates, but even just in the last couple weeks was reaching back out to those champions to say, we're about to do this again. If you can help us, please do. So maybe a little less robust than Gretchen, but kind of the starter pack, if you will, of Giving Tuesday approach to things, which is keep people posted, keep them engaged, because again, they're really actually driving us in part. And then really focus on this effort right now. So we have a whole set of emails that our communications lead for sustainability has queued up. So we looked at those and are, kind of tying them to bird friendly glass and trying to get the word out.
Thank you so much. A question from the audience. So many donors could really identify with multiple campaigns this year. I think we're very close to having the number we had last year. So how do you make your campaign stand out? What do you do to make sure yours is visible and attractive and garners the attention of donors who would be really interested in more than one issue?
Our development board, Wendy's dropped something in the chat as well. So our library development board, we have a lot of people from different backgrounds, specifically marketing, communications. And one thing they feel strongly about is that matching gifts are inspirational to other people. So they are already planning to make their gift for Giving Tuesday. They just work with us to make it a little earlier, to make it a matching gift. That's one of our hopes that helps us stand out of, oh, you're gonna give $5, our board's also going to give $5. So you're giving $10. Let's double your impact. On top of that, like I said before, really building those stories. Again, student well-being is an easy one to pitch. It can be hard to explain what is open access briefly in a campaign page to people. So working really hard to pick out those stories, make them as digestible as possible and easy to share. So again, like Laura said, we have all those emails queued up. We have stuff on Instagram to send out, and we have the toolkit that has been shared with us, which is really helpful, that we've pushed out to our development board for them to use as well.
Yeah, and I would add to what Gretchen just said. I mean, thinking about different medium, LinkedIn, word of mouth, email distribution lists, asking our partners to help send information out. We're acutely aware that our student audience may get their news in a very different way than a different kind of audience, right? And so we're trying to reach a whole bunch of different audiences and bring them in. Also trying to say, hey, you know, a gift of $5 is also really helpful. Same thing, helps unlock matches, and it helps unlock and raise awareness of these questions. So a whole mix and a range of techniques for kind of helping get word out, and frankly, actually trying to help amplify other campaigns. The Arboretum, for example, has a campaign for bus transportation. If you're going to bring kids in to go look at the Arboretum and their bird and pollinator garden, you need transportation. And so we're actually cross-referencing a number of that are kind of all in the same space and trying to help amplify some of those other campaigns that are complementary, if you will.
I have a suggestion, and maybe you've thought of this already. The new Palmer Art Museum has a teaching gallery, and it's booked up to 2026, I understand, where professors, faculty working with students put on exhibitions. Right now, it's related to the medical school. So I would think a good idea is a couple of professors, as yourself, put together an exhibition on sustainability, because the Palmer is having thousands of visitors. I've seen some recent numbers. It's doing really well in terms of visitors. And it could be up 3 to 4 months is the average time, but you need to book in advance. But that will give you time to work something out, because there's a couple of things here. One, it'll interest the students, but also people come in who aren't students, including alums. So if you have it focused on, I would suggest, and Kelly Mongaluzzo is the person there, but you could find out and call the museum. But I would urge you to consider that, because it's been very popular. It's already booked up till sometime in 26, with professors want to present their projects, and sustainability is certainly something that I think would attract people.
Yeah, I appreciate that suggestion. And I've been in touch with Erin Coe. I know that she's has stepped or is stepping down from the Palmer, but reaching out to the Palmer. There was an exhibit a number of years ago. I don't remember exactly what year. It's pre-COVID, so time blurs. About plastics and plastic entanglement. It was
Yes.
actually developed for the Palmer, but then went on tour across the US and beyond, I think.
Right.
Really, really successful. And so I do think, and trying to figure out how to bridge the world of art and sustainability, because I do think it's a space that helps open up different kinds of conversations. And so it is a space we're actively exploring, and love the idea. And that is advanced warning that we need to reach out and kind of get on there, maybe hold space for 27, for example.
Yeah.
Wonderful questions so far. What else do we have in the audience?
Or comments and suggestions are welcome too.
Absolutely. In fact, I do have a question for the both of you. What challenges might you have experienced that attendees today might be able to help advance success around in the coming year?
I think on our end, again, I alluded to this. People are like, well, what is sustainability? Right? And are you asking me to live in the dark and the cold and suffer? Because that doesn't sound like much fun. And so being able to articulate, I mean, I think one of the challenges we have is, how do you articulate the the opportunities. What we're working with is students who are really passionate about finding a solution to the world that they see a lot of challenges in. How do we bridge those connections with our communities? I just had a chance actually to visit with folks at the College of Medicine on Monday. And as we were talking through it, this is actually a colleague from the Penn State Health System was like, I have never thought about how many pieces of equipment might be laid out for surgery as being very expensive. If all that's thrown away after the surgery, I never thought about that as a sustainability issue. And so I think our challenge is how do we, as Gretchen said, articulate those stories in pieces such that it can spark the imagination and people go, oh, I know in fact how what I'm maybe giving as a donation is making a difference in a real world way. That's not just you're asking me to do better with recycling. So that storytelling is a space that we're working on, and ideas are welcome. Gretchen, thoughts or reactions to that question?
Yeah, I think you gave a really great answer. One of the challenges that we have at the library is trying to explain what a library is. The library has evolved. It is no longer just a place with books. We do still have the stacks. We have our physical books, but there's a lot more. We have these digital resources. We have these programs. We're evolving and changing, and trying to explain that is a really big undertaking to kind of get that grasp on it. I think that's one of our challenges, is getting past that barrier of, oh, the library's books, and if I donate to the library, I'm buying a book. That's not what's happening. So again, we're working on that storytelling to kind of get that out there and share how we're expanding and how we want to expand, because the needs of our students continue to grow. Like with AI coming in, there are lots of new things that we need to work on to learn to help our students and, you know, just to survive as a whole.
Wonderful. Well, we are coming up on the end of our event. So if you don't mind, I'll jump in with a few more plugs for how our audience here today can get involved. So first, keep your eye on your email leading up to December 3rd, and make sure to check out our GivingTuesday site to explore the, gosh, I'm thinking close to 180 campaigns that are actually currently fundraising. We kicked off live early fundraising on Monday. So there's a lot to explore and support that you can jump in on right now. In addition to making a gift, our fundraising platform empowers volunteers to become advocates. So it was mentioned earlier in the presentation. Last year, we called this a champion. We're using a new platform with some slightly different tools and language. So it's functionally the same thing. It's an opportunity to create your own page to support a Giving Tuesday campaign that you care about. We do have in our toolkit, hopefully a very helpful guide for how to go through setting up a page as an advocate, and I will pop that in the chat right now. So if you have questions about that, please feel free to reach out. It should be very easy to share the campaigns you love on any of your social media spaces. Putting it out to friends and family is a huge way to help advance the causes that you care about. And if a question comes to mind later, or you want to talk more about getting involved, please feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is here on this slide, and we can talk more about any piece of Giving Tuesday anytime. So that concludes our event for today and the final Noontime Knowledge event for 2024. Thank you so much, Laura, Gretchen, for being here today. Thank you so much to the attendees who are here today. This is a really important forum for us to share our key priorities, and we are really looking forward to our impressive lineup for 2025. Be on the lookout for invitations to the January event featuring the Ross and Carol Neese College of Nursing's safety system. And thanks again for joining us. Have a happy and safe holiday break.